Good morning and welcome to Houston Methodist Hospital's annual Veterans Day celebration. My name is Robert Gomez and I'm Manager of Public Safety and Security and also a Navy veteran with over 20 years of Navy service. I'll be MC for today's program. Normally we gather in the Crane Garden or the Bush Atrium. However, due to COVID-19, we're doing so virtually this year. Now I'd like to introduce Roberta Schwartz, Executive Vice President and Chief Innovation Officer for Houston Methodist Hospital.
Good morning and welcome to our Veterans Day celebration. I am honored to be here and I am truly grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this rich tradition at Houston Methodist Hospital. Even though we're having to do this virtually, it's vitally important that we pause to honor the men and women who have defended our rights and our way of life by serving in the armed forces. They have all made great sacrifices on our behalf, and some have made the ultimate sacrifice. Once a year, on Veterans Day, we pause to remember these heroes. We honor their service, their courage, and their dedication, and we thank them for their service and for making our way of life possible. As Americans, we were promised certain rights by our founders. It is the men and women who serve in uniform who fight every day to ensure that we continue to have those rights. Just last week, we held a national election where eligible voters were asked to make their voices heard. This would not have been possible if it weren't for the veterans' service. To our veterans and the family of our veterans here today, we thank you for your service, and we thank you for your sacrifice. We are eternally grateful to you. Thank you, and thank you all for coming today.
Thank you, Roberta. And now I'd like to introduce Trina Price, our chaplain resident in spiritual care and education, who will lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Robert. Let us pray. Almighty and all-caring God, the great healer and physician, the wounded healer who knows suffering, we gather here today to acknowledge, honor, and celebrate all those who have ever served in the armed forces and our veterans. We pray your presence as we remember all those past and present who made the sacrifice and commitment to lay down their lives to protect this country from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. For we know that there is no greater love than this. We lift up the families of all those honorable men and women, because without their love and support, we could not do all that we must. We continue to ask your blessings over our time together, in that you are glorified in our service to you, our service to our country, and our service to one another. May God bless America. We pray all of this in your holy name. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
introduce our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Cheryl Cass Lewis, who is in Operations Administration at Houston Methodist Hospital. Cass is a 20-year veteran who served in the United States Navy Nurse Corps and the Air Force from 1972 to 1992. Please welcome Cass Lewis.
It's an honor to address the Methodist family on Veterans Day in this year of taking on one of the greatest challenges that American healthcare has ever faced. In my role as Operations Administrator at Methodist, I have witnessed Methodist employees and physicians throughout the organization tackle the COVID virus with energy, teamwork, and pride. These are the same values, innovation, courage, and drive that have propelled Methodist to the top of healthcare institutions in America. This relentless dedication to mission is not unlike the experience of being an American soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine. My story as a nurse in my 5th decade of practice has been bookended by exceptional opportunities, first serving in the military and now as a nursing leader at Methodist. I started my nursing career as a military nurse at the end of the Vietnam War, serving on active duty in the Navy, and completing 20 years in the Naval Reserve and Air National Guard. I saw the American military from many perspectives, also caring for active duty personnel, their families, and retirees. There are many highlights that I could describe, but here's just a few. I learned emergency nursing from corpsmen who had served in combat with Marines in Vietnam. We cared for wounded Marines during their extensive rehabilitation also. As immunization officer in the Guard, our teams tracked down the pilots so they could fly sorties refueling other aircraft during the Cold War. And I was also privileged to serve on board the first co-ed ship in the Navy, providing education about women's health for the female sailors. These are but a smattering of the irreplaceable experience that formed my base as a nurse. And always, the mission was first and the people were outstanding. I continued my civilian nursing career with a variety of positions, but when I joined Methodist 13 years ago, I felt as though I'd returned home. The Methodist culture, driven by the constant drive for excellence, innovation, and the I-Care values, are so much like what I experienced in the military. Many of our co-workers who are veterans are drawn to Methodist for the same reasons. Some are still reservists and guardsmen who serve on active duty, deployments of up to a year at a time. I asked several of our colleagues who are veterans, why did you come to Methodist? What about Methodist is comparable to military service? Deanna, 14, an emergency nurse, came to Methodist after serving with the Marines as a Navy combat corpsman for 25 years. She retired from the Navy and pursued a nursing degree when she thought it might be time to stop jumping out of helicopters for a living. Deanna tried civilian nursing in another organization before embracing what she describes as the camaraderie and teamwork of working at Methodist. Deanna helped tackle the challenge of caring for COVID patients with her colleagues on the front lines as just another mission. I met Staff Sergeant Paul Tercino in orientation 4 years ago. He's a nurse in the emergency department also, and an Army reservist with artillery and air defense specialties. He just returned from a year in Herat, a forward base in Afghanistan. He wants you to know that his unit, using CRAM anti-missile devices, did not allow any Taliban missiles to get through to their targets. Paul, by the way, has had tours in Kuwait and Iraq as well since 2004. He also describes the teamwork and pride in doing the best for patients at Methodist as keenly similar to his military experience. Ross West, one of our nurse practitioners in Alkek 9MU, has been with Methodist almost 35 years. When Ross was deployed 5 times as an Army reservist between 2004 and 2010, he rarely worked at a civilian job, yet he and his family described amazing support from Methodist. I have witnessed many times how our patients benefit from Ross's extensive experience and abilities as he mentors other caregivers in the Methodist system. I also stay in touch with Archie Mercado, who was an RN in Neuro ICU for 6 years before joining the Air Force in 2018. Archie returned from a 6-month tour in Afghanistan a few months ago and almost immediately was deployed to Los Angeles to assist with caring for civilian COVID patients in the overwhelmed USC healthcare system. Ever an energetic, positive force who loves Methodist, I asked Archie how he viewed Methodist in comparison to the Air Force. I have his permission to share his perspective. He describes the values that are practiced at Methodist are almost simultaneous with the Air Force. Integrity always comes first, and performing at the highest level of every aspect of the work we do, whether it be medical or non-medical, is always important. Accountability is a big aspect of both organizations. Being responsible for your actions and admitting right or wrong cultivates the trust we have. We learn through our mistakes and help each other improve as a whole. Accountability in uniform also means keeping each other in the loop, making sure everyone is safe, especially in the deployed environment where lifestyle conditions are not suitable for everyday living. Although respect and compassion aren't coined in the Air Force values per se, it goes without saying that respecting and being compassionate to everyone, even with our differences in gender, background, race, and political affiliations, will always make a great working organization. Archie's experience of turning on a dime as the mission changes and keeping each other safe in the deployed environment describes what has been practiced here at Methodist among our physicians and staff as we learned how to tackle this virus unknown to human beings in many ways. These are the views of only a few of our employees. I'm privileged to work with many veterans and other employees of all ages across many departments in my job and on all shifts at Methodist. They are called to serve and bring the can-do to every situation on every team. Thank you.
And now I'd like to have a moment of silence as we remember the brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And now I'd like to introduce Ariane Dowdle, Vice President and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, to give you a little information about our Veterans Research Group.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to join you today. I too echo what my colleagues have said and thank each of you for your service. As we celebrate all you have done as veterans, we also acknowledge the immense value you bring to our organization. One of the ways we will continue to recognize and celebrate our employees is through our employee resource groups, also known as ERGs. Prior to COVID, several people came together to begin forming a Veterans ERG, which was created in part to support and promote our veterans and to help serve as a way for veterans to come together to help develop solution-based strategies to assist Houston Methodist in addressing issues or concerns in the workplace. In the coming weeks, you will hear more about opportunities to form or even join some of the various ERGs around the hospital, including the Veterans ERG. I encourage and invite you all to take part. There is so much beauty in the diversity of thought and experience we each bring to continue to make Houston Methodist the organization that it is. And we want you to know that your input and your experience matter so much. Thank you again for your sacrifice. and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Arian. Sincere thanks to them for joining us this morning. To conclude today's service, we have Captain Williamson, Veteran and Vice President of Operations.
Good morning. As an Army Nurse Corps veteran, I am honored to be able to take part in today's ceremony. I want to once again thank our veterans who are here at Houston Methodist and our veterans around the world. We are grateful for your service. We can never take for granted the great sacrifices that each of you made and continue to make to defend our country. We are blessed to have men and women willing to make these sacrifices to keep us safe and to allow us to maintain our way of life. Please know that you are appreciated. Although the legal holiday is the 11th day of the 11th month, I challenge you to always honor our veterans throughout the year. Thank you all for joining us today.